Hey everybody, Sam here. Sorry I'm a little bit late for my Fearless Fridays installment this week. Evan, who was actually joining myself and Anu last week to talk about the furniture, was here, and we were doing a little video shoot and tour of the space. So keep an eye out for that, because that could probably show up on our social medias and website and things like that soon. But I'm here, and I'm here to do another installment of Fearless Fridays. So this week we are actually talking all about starting small in STEM. So this is something that I wanted to kind of bring up and talk about, because a lot of times when we do programs or we're talking to parents about the types of things that we do, and I mentioned that we start as young as age 4, a lot of parents seem to be actually very surprised that we start at age 4. And what we find, especially as teachers and educators, is that the younger you can start, the better. So what I hope to do today is highlight a little bit about why that is actually so important to start young in STEM and to kind of build some of those foundational skills. And of course, as always, if any of you are either watching live or watching on a replay, any questions that you have, feel free to write them in the comments or send us a message, and we will do our best to respond to you ASAP. So without further ado, we'll get started. And so the whole idea behind kind of STEM and early learning is that the two are very, very closely aligned. A lot of the types of things that we do in classrooms or do kind of in the school system for early learners meld beautifully with how we teach STEM learning, because it's all very hands-on, it's all visual, kind of tangible activities, which is just inherently conducive to the way that many young people learn. Most of us on staff here are certified teachers, as many of you know, most of us, included myself, with primary junior qualifications. So we're actually quite familiar with kind of working with the younger kids, working with kids in elementary ages, and many of us have kind of worked in kindergarten, grade 1, grade 2 classrooms. So we've kind of seen firsthand the similarities between the two, being in kind of both the in-school space and what we kind of call informal education spaces like we do here. We're really supplementing those skills and kind of emphasizing them and building them out in really, really interesting ways. So basically the whole idea is that, you know, by doing, by creating, by playing, by making, kids are actually starting to build these fundamental skills and start to build that kind of hands-on knowledge before they get into the older grades. And what that's doing is kind of setting them up really early for later success. Even the idea of kids kind of using a tablet, so even if they're making something digital at a young age, it's still that act of making and creating, which just fits so beautifully in the way that many young kids learn. So, you know, whether you're creating on a tablet, whether you're creating on paper, fundamentally, a lot of those skills that you're kind of developing and learning are kind of staying the same, or if nothing else, really trying to emphasize and really trying to complement those other types of skills and that other type of learning that they might be doing in a classroom setting. So like I said, a lot of people will kind of act surprised or be surprised when I say that our programs start as young as age 4. And there is a reason behind that. There's a reason why we do it. So for example, when we're teaching kids about something like coding and robotics, yeah, on the one hand, we're teaching them how to code and we're teaching them, you know, how to use a robot, how to interact with technology. But really what we're trying to emphasize with that age group is that it's a critical time for them in their developmental stages. A lot of times kids actually develop kind of the most, especially the way that their brain works and the way that their brain thinks between the ages of kind of like 2 and 7. So those are really, really critical times in a young person's life. And so what we're trying to emphasize is not as much necessarily what they're doing, although that is important. We're really trying to pick up and emphasize why they're doing it. So for us, most of the value of starting young in STEM and getting young kids really interested is actually in the soft skills and more of those foundational kind of parts and skills and knowledge that will inherently become part of their being, than more so than the hard tech skills. And the reason for that is that if you set up that foundation when the kids are young and they inherently start to understand the way that kind of STEM learning works, they're looking at things like problem solving, critical thinking, all of those really, really critical skills, not only for actual educational perspectives, but just in any aspect of life. The tech skills will get easier the older that they get. If you build a solid foundation and start young, then it's just going to give those kids so much more of a leg up by the time that they hit, age 8, age 12, high school, university. They're already set. They are already good to go. And what we're finding nowadays is that a lot of kids, especially now in the high school level, who never got that introduction to STEM learning or this type of learning when they were young, they're actually kind of starting from stage 1 when they're already 14 or 15. So just imagine if we can start at that base level at age 4 or 5, 10 years time, just how far ahead and just how advanced these kids could be and the amazing and incredible things that they could create. So again, when we're teaching them something like 2D or 3D design, we're teaching them about 2D and 3D design, but what we're really doing at the heart is we're teaching them about visual spatial skills. We're teaching them about computational thinking and problem solving when we're teaching coding and robotics. So it's never too early to start so that you can start to build that really strong foundation and just help your kids on later on in life. A lot of people also will ask, what sorts of things can I start to do at home with my kids? And the truth is, as I was kind of thinking in preparation for this Facebook Live, there's a lot of things that parents are probably already doing at home with their kids that actually fit beautifully into this kind of idea of building out foundations and building out those foundational skills in your young learners. So you're already at a good start. Don't freak out or think too much about, oh my gosh, what can I do? And it's the same sort of thing that comes up when we talk about STEM learning in the kindergarten classroom, is people kind of automatically jump to that idea of like kids writing like thousands of lines of code, or people programming these robots to do amazing things. But the truth is, if you're focusing on those foundation skills, doesn't matter again what you do, you're helping them with STEM learning early on. So some examples are, if you do Play-Doh challenges at home, where you have Play-Doh at home, you have clay, you do those sorts of arts activities, one suggestion might be to actually give the kids some specific design challenges. So the same sort of thing that we do here in our programs with our 3D design and 3D printing, you might kind of start to prompt their thinking a little bit more. So start to actually challenge them to create a specific animal, or to design a specific structure, to start to go and emphasize a little bit that you're creating something with Play-Doh, but you're creating something for a specific purpose. So instead of kind of just letting kids, here's the Play-Doh, go to town, create what you want, you're really trying to push them to think critically and think creatively about what exactly they are designing. And then in doing that, you're actually kind of starting to explore design thinking with the kids. So some of you might have remembered a few weeks ago we did a Fearless Fridays about design thinking. If not, then definitely check it out. And I think you'll probably see some of the similarities between the two, even at that really early and young age. Another great one that always comes up is Lego. So we are actually starting to build out more and more Lego programs here at our facility, because we are more and more seeing the importance and the similarities between Lego building and stable structures and all of those kind of curriculum connections and curriculum expectations. So, if you're doing something, again, where the kids are building with Lego, challenge them to recreate something, challenge them to kind of build something awesome with it. One of the things that we love to do is to give them very specific design challenges that they are now trying to work to create. So an example might be to get them to build a spectacular spaceship, a very stable tower. How tall can you build your tower? And, have it kind of stay standing with lots of different shapes without it falling over. I personally love to challenge kids to recreate famous landmarks or famous buildings and get some of that kind of social studies and geography in there as well, where, you know, you're showing them a picture of the Colosseum. Try and build the Colosseum out of Lego or Play-Doh. You're trying to, here's a picture of the Eiffel Tower. Can you also make the Eiffel Tower using popsicle sticks? And so really simple things that you can do with kids and materials that you have at home can actually make a really, really big start and a really, really solid, help them get that solid foundation for learning without you even maybe totally realizing that that's what you're doing. Another one that often comes up is, especially nowadays in the digital age, kids are more and more using technology. So whether this is cell phones or iPads or, you know, different types of technology that we're starting to see being used at younger and younger age, there are tons of excellent resources on the App Store and on the Google Play Store and online that you can start to get your kids to interact with, so that when they do have that tech time, they're doing something that's really meaningful instead of just kind of playing around. Of course, there's always a time for play, but the more ways you can integrate play and learning, it's a much better experience and a much more holistic experience for those kids. And they're really going to absorb that knowledge and that foundation that's just going to help them later on in life. So some of the apps that we love to use for the young age groups are Spritebox. We love to use Lightbot. Codable, Codapillar is a great one too. And what I'll do is I'll actually post a link in the comments from Edutopia, which is a blog site that talks about kind of teaching and education and all that good stuff in the comments now, that has some ideas of some different coding apps and things that you can start to explore at home if you want to kind of expose your kids to some of this learning. And last but not least, another great way to start is enrolling them in a program such as ours. So a lot of parents actually have a little bit of fear when it talks about, you know, STEM learning and STEM education, and they, especially at a young age, they know that it's important for them to explore, and they know that they need to build that solid foundation, but they're a little bit unsure of how exactly to do that, or they're, you know, afraid that their kids are going to surpass them at a level that they won't be able to help them anymore. And that's where we come in. We, of course, have the tech. We have the expertise. We have a really engaging and cool learning environment, which the kids always like. And just as much as some of those other foundational skills are important, I think also the social element of STEM is important too. So, you know, enrolling them in a program or enrolling them in a summer camp is a really great way to get them started and get them to explore everything that the world of STEM has to offer. And doing it in a really fun way with like-minded people can make a really big difference in these kids' lives at such a young age. Okay, so that's about it for today. Hopefully that gives you some ideas of some ways that you can start to engage your young ones in STEM. Summer camp is still coming up. We are actually only about a month away from summer camp. So it's coming up very fast now that we're in June. We still do have some spaces available if you are looking to give your kids some ideas of how to explore STEM this summer. And so I will post that link to our junior camp in the comments below as well. So it's really easy for you guys to register there. Other than that, as always, if you have any questions or looking for any suggestions of things that you can do at home, or you just want to learn more about our programs, send us an email, give us a call, and we're more than happy to do that and answer any questions that you might have. For those of you who live in the area and are going to the Aurora Street Festival this Sunday, we will be there as well, showcasing some of the awesome stuff that we do and some projects that our kids have built. So definitely check us out if you're checking out that festival. And other than that, we hope to see you there. Bye for now. See you next week.